Hello, mate.
Hello, Elliot. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah.
Good. Hello, my name is Elliot Liburd, and I'm currently playing Jay Gatsby in The Great Gatsby.
I'm Craig Hamilton, and I used to play Jay Gatsby before Elliot. Is it what you expected?
Yeah, I think so. I think because it's an immersive show, the first time I came to see it, I actually didn't see Gatsby much at all, and I thought it was like similar in the book where he doesn't appear for, maybe a third. I think it's an interesting part because he lies, or you're unsure of whether or not anything that he says is true.
I think that's really true. I think the book is kind of written from the perspective of Nick Carraway, the narrator. Yeah. So as you're saying, everything that happens in the book is kind of filtered through his very unreliable, biased, rose-tinted lens. Naturally, by kind of staging something, you cannot filter the story through one perspective. It has to be kind of a shared, common ground, like kind of a collective agreement. And so I think there's something a little bit more open, I suppose, about doing it in a theatre context than Nick Carraway kind of describing how beautiful he is.
Though I do like that bit. That's, I think, my favourite line in the show when he says how beautiful I am. I think that's my favourite bit. He says he's gorgeous. I'm like, yeah, thank you.
My casting,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What do you think of him as a person?
Because it's kind of the defining artistic or literary text around like an era, 1920s New York, that is so infectious. I think therefore it kind of gets lost as this like tragic love story. And for me it really isn't that. And so I suppose when reading the book and maybe like trying to get away from, this like slightly cliched version and being really like shocked and a bit like confused as to why Gatsby was considered like good. He's obsessive and violent, and like it's not enough for Gatsby to hear Daisy say she doesn't love him, Tom, anymore.
Yeah.
She has to obliterate the last 5 years for them to have a chance of being together. I know we can't look at everything through a kind of 2022 lens, but that's pretty bad. It's pretty intense.
I find that really interesting. I think it's like when people like maybe our grandparents' generation, where they say stuff like, your grandfather waited in the restaurant for 6 months before eventually asking me out, and I said no 100 times, but on the 100th time I said yes. And I was like, depending on the other person's reaction to that, that's like, oh, that sounds quite problematic. But like some people, and it's the same with audiences, I think. Some people really are like, yeah, that's really romantic. I think it's a really passionate gesture, and other people are like, oh, that's a bit weird, mate. I don't know which I think is really exciting to do. I've recently started to enjoy getting into sort of arguments, debates with audience members about, I'm telling them about, I want to do this, I want to set up this tea with Daisy, we're going to be together and stuff. And a few people have been like, you shouldn't do that, mate, because she's married. And I've also had, on the other side of it, audience members like leap to my defense. There's sometimes where, I was just like, oh, I don't need to say any of the lines in this scene because this woman is doing it for me. And all I have to do is go, yeah, I agree with this lady. She knows what she's talking about. It can be quite wildly different from one night to the other.
I started this show during, what we now understand to be between lockdowns. Everyone had to sit down and the seats we see around us were numbered, and the difference it feels. There's such a big thing in letting the audience kind of give them a bit of space to step in for one of us, or be those third characters in a duologue. The difference you feel in the potential of that is huge.
This show, people come back, which is great, because they can see a completely different show depending on where they stand in the room. Sometimes people come because it's like the glitz and the glamour of the 20s, and that's the appeal of it.
Immersive is a very kind of like pop word right now, and I think all great theatre is immersive, but there's something about this where everyone buys into it. People turn up doing American accents. It's a book that people love, it's a book that people grew up with, it's a book people studied at school, and I think those two things sit so nicely together, and why people come back 50 times. Literally 50 times. But I've yet to see you do Gatsby.
No. Okay, well.
So if you'll have me back at the mansion,
Yeah, of course,
Jay,
mate.
I'd love to.
Anytime, mate,
Great.
please. You're welcome back. Doors open. You don't even need an invite, you just turn.
Great, yeah.
Sweet.